decision as countries as to whether or not we'll work together, or whether or not we'll fight each other.
Relate to whether you're a man or a woman.
We all see it.
Transcends the genre, whether you call it horror or thriller.
About whether somebody like you or not, you best be making sure life worrying about whether somebody like you or not. You
really think about whether it would be realistic, whether we'd ever be able to pull it off in our lifetime.
T-virus. It would destroy the T-virus.
Many years now, whether it's been on camera or just
weeks, I've wondered whether you might be having some second
things for women where they're not doing anything.
He's deciding whether or not to sleep with a prostitute.
Whether it's being poor or...
Terrific water story here and dealing with...
place where they consider a home. Whether it be a hole or...
My best friend. With her, it's just business. It's...
Figure out whether she is who they say.
Aesthetic criteria, you mean whether it's a good photo or not?
And hope. We're about to learn whether or not that heat shield, which was...
For so long, and I'd ask him whether he'd mind me playing.
Whether you like to or not. As an example, my brothers would...
Day one, whether my kid can hang or not. Only place...
Whether they want to or not. That's just it.
Girl.
Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr.
Making you question whether is this a real attraction or...
Maxi trial. Whether any of the sentences handed down at...
Whether you've seen the original or not, it will feel...
Of whether someone is right or wrong for him.
That's the greatest weather phenomenon in history!
Hey, aren't you a weather girl?
People retreat, whether it's in their own minds or...
About whether it's real or unreal or...
yourself. Maybe you'll even decide whether or not you care to return.
The bottom is, then you can know whether you can take it or not. So
About whether they used music at all?
Yeah. Well, there's lots of things that... what that is a reference to is that I made a music...
Why don't you go through life worrying about whether somebody like you or not? You best be making sure...
Whether to worship at your feet or spank you.
Remember whether you ordered pens with blue ink or black.
They were finding out whether or not that's going to happen. Finding out whether or not they get to keep their jobs.
That appealed to millions of people, whether you ran or whether you watched. That was Fred's genius.
It is up to your mother whether or not she wants to tell you.
The president can decide whether it's in the best interests of the nation, and then...
Okay, the crew, please refrain from smoking. You have to smoke on either end of the street where there are...
Whether this would be like a silicone mask or whether it was going to be a hard mask, and we ended up...
I'll finish this.
Scarlett Johansson, Ghost in the Shell, rated PG.
Learn.
Whether it's coming over a mountain, whether it's coming up out of the water.
Really having to do much. Whether it be...
However you feel about what's going on in the scene, it's a really cathartic way. Whether you agree with that or not.
American people, whether or not they're going to...
There's no denying, whether you can relate to the plight of the theatre, whether you hate it or whether you love it. It's something, whether it makes me laugh, makes me cry, or makes me, whether you're into awards or not, definitely go and check.
Go through life worrying about whether somebody like you or not.
What you think of La La Land, whether I've hyped this movie. Fascinating topic. It's all about whether you should be allowed healing, whether it can be laughter for revenge. You thought of the Golden Globes, whether you predicted any of the very savage mermaids. It's like Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale.
So whether it's CGI or
Jeremy
some work,
likes to do everything
it's
very...
a really hard time deciding whether they wanted to give it to Jennifer. The androgynous child doesn't know whether they should let this man in or not.
Is whether or not you say yes or no. So when you...
Those colors using the orchestra, whether I was making it melon...
It requires from every passenger, whether or not they deplane.
I've done leading up to this, whether it be the stage work or the...
question is whether or not that also happened on Mars night.
I see it.
As to whether or not you're looking at a clear night.
I see it.
As to whether or not you're looking at...
Question of whether the 13th Amendment is going to pass.
Detail, whether it be a battle map or a little note.
Watching it. I don't know whether I learned a lot, but
Whether it is Amistad or Munich, Saving Private Ryan,
Or whether he needed to get enough votes to get this...
I'm curious about whether you find, well, this is really for both of you.
No idea whether
this is the right path that you're taking. But when wants to know whether the lighting and cinematography
about the power of mothers, whether they're biological or adopted, and the need.
My feet were these yellow feet?
Yes, ma'am.
That's really
whether it's in pieces or whether it's whole. I mean, I don't know whether you can do anything about it, but
You're at. Whether you're partying on a beach or doing.
Stand by it, whether you like the movie or you don't like the movie.
Family, and we all have families, whether they're disbanded or unified, and whether they're loving or not, or whether they're, it's that final choice of whether or not you're going to hold on, whether or not you're going to move forward with anger, which could very well be true. Whether it's more important to accept the person for existing.
Some way, whether you're making them laugh or you're making them
rise right out of the ground. Ain't no grave.
Whether you're green screen or whether you're set.
Every single level, whether it's politically or financially.
Psycho, whether it's been on TV or whatnot.
And it's better to keep it real. I would rather this be real.
Whether we is rich or poor, we's all homeless.
Brings his A game, whether he succeeds or not, makes money or not, whether the movie, so.
Whether it's The Godfather or Apocalypse Now or.
Worry about whether I'm doing a good job or not, because if I'm.
Been told was an episode of acute coronary insulin.
Whatever they had, whether they had the stuffed bear.
Talk about
the weather.
I like to be tied up.
Thoughts about whether or not I should do this.
Are always a scam, whether it's a pill, a book, or a.
That's almost regardless of whether it's going to make it in the movie.
Decide whether or not you're going to buy toilet paper or after.
And whether I still have something to offer. The answer is
protection. Whether you believe it or not, demons are real.
To sacrifice.
He will slither into your soul. He will slither into your soul.
Necroman. You really managed to get through quite a bit in the short.
Whether it's a suicide mission.
Please tell me we're taking that boat to a big.
About whether or not fashion can ever be art. Perennial debate about whether fashion can ever be.
Tell me whether you want to go or not.
I can't wait!
Took wagers on whether or not you'd turn up.
Is this the Metallica version?
Who is this?
It's the Metallica version.
Empty spot, whether it's green or whether it needs something in front.
Movie, whether it be something like The Wizard of Oz or Star Wars.
She's torn between whether she wants to go help save the world.
Whether that's been in the papers is here in these boxes.
Yourself whether or not I'm qualified enough to do that.
Tranquility.
Great sign, guys.
Whether it's Andy Smurf, the builder.
Splitting critics as to whether it's high art or.
And it wasn't until I was talking to my mother and I said whether or not her breasts were really kept touching them.
You shall love. Whether you like it or not.
I realized.
Whether they're wearing a bikini or not.
You guys?
Whether you've read the books or not, it's.
Whether a chimp is a person.
Tommy is a legal thing right now. And
Fight back, whether you lost or not, you had to fight back.
When it comes to the real, no, it ain't no replacing. Too much sauce in the
way that we've, whether it's the storyline, whether it's the technicians working on this movie, whether it's the actors that we.
Your performance, whether it is.
Production, whether people. It really sets the mood.
Things you love, whether it's a park, a girl, or a roast beef sandwich.
Audiences now, whether they have a relationship to Power Rangers or